You tune into the Sportscast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need. We give you outspoken thoughts about all the headlines. We talk baseball, football, hockey, and more. No matter the topic, we cover it. Get ready for the show and keep it outspoken. Keep it outspoken. We keep it outspoken only on the Sportscast. Tune into the Sportscast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need.
Hey guys, welcome in. It's the Outspoken Sportscast here with your hosts Brian and Craig, episode 150. Craig, how's it going, brother?
Another day, brother. Long weekend, long first couple days of the week, but we're making it.
We are making it, definitely. It's a very exciting week. We got it's NFL week, all right? It starts this Thursday night. This is episode 150. We got Talks on Tuesday, NFL Question Edition. Me and Craig are going to go through the whole NFL and give you a kind of a question headed into the season for each NFL team. Then we're going to predict our picks of the week for NFL Week 1, give you our picks, who we think is going to win, and we'll also discuss some college football happened over the weekend, guys, right after this. All right, guys, welcome in. Episode 150. We decided that we would go through and kind of go over a question that we might have had for each NFL team. I took the AFC and Craig took the NFC. So we're going to go through here and give you that. So it is NFL week. We're super excited. I know I am. I know you are, Craig, and I know 90% of America is that still watch football. So I'll go ahead and jump in here, I guess, and I'll give you a we'll go team. We'll switch back and forth here. I got the Bengals first here. The question that I got for the Bengals is, can they duplicate their success? You know, we all want to know if this was a flash in the pan type of thing last year. You kind of wonder how the Bengals made it there, how Joe Burrow got there with it being the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. Was this just a fluke? We needed to be able to see that consistency with them and they need to make a deep run. I'm not saying they need to make it to the Super Bowl, right? That's high expectations. They need to make it into a deep run again, and we're going to find out soon enough here if they're going to be a powerhouse team like they were last year. And I think they're going to be a little stronger this season, Craig. Last year they played some games where they should have beat Green Bay, but you had 25 missed field goals in that game. They ended up losing that one. There's some games that they probably would have wanted back from last season, but they made it all the way to the championship, and I just want to see them duplicate the success. Your mic's off.
They do have a first place schedule, though, instead of a last place schedule. So that is interesting, to say the least. But they did upgrade the offensive line. They did make some adjustments there. I just realized the other day that they lost their tight end, Uzuma. He's now in New York playing for the Jets. That was a huge target for Burrow. I mean, that was a safety net for him, especially during that playoff run. He used C.J. Uzuma a lot. So And then I don't know what happened with that whole deal with the O.J. Howard deal. I thought that was a done deal. They claimed him, and the next thing I know, he's over there playing for the Texans. So I don't know if somebody reported that wrong or if the Texans had a higher claim and nobody knew it or what. I don't know. But O.J. Howard is now there, so I don't know who they're really going to use as a tight end in Cincy to offset that because on that pass rush, when you got guys in your face, that tight end's a good dump off. If they don't have a strong one, that could be an issue. But I think the running back there, Mixon, I think he's going to have a better year. He's healthy. He should have a really good year. And I still think that they're going to be good. A lot of people are saying the Ravens are going to be the 1 seed or the 2 seed. I don't see that. I don't see
it either.
So anyway, I think they can, but the AFC is stacked. I mean, like we've talked about many times. So
yeah, they've taken over that. If you look at both conferences, there's a lot more depth in the AFC than the NFC. So we'll see what happens at the end of this year with that. I think the Bengals will be back on top again, or in the top 3 at least teams there. But go ahead and give us the NFC team you want to give us a question about.
I'm going to start in the West. I'm going to kind of do them just division by division. But the San Francisco 49ers, is Trey Lance the real deal? And can he do enough with that defense to do what they repeated last year? Can he make a run? Can he win some games? Is he the real deal, or has San Francisco bit off more than they can chew? And I believe that he's not the answer, that he was never the answer. I believe some people are going to lose their jobs over this. They did hold on to Jimmy as a backup, but like we've talked about before, once you make that move, you can't go back. So can't put that back in the jar once it's out. So I just hope we'll see what happens. My brother obviously disagrees. He drafted Trey Lance in fantasy as his only quarterback. I don't see it.
Oh, wow. That's confident right there.
From a couple years ago when he picked Lamar and said he couldn't throw like a spaghetti noodle, and he won the championship. So it was his MVP season. So he looked like a G. But anyhow, I just don't think Trey can. I've always liked Jimmy myself. I don't know why they went away from him. I would ride that deal. He just wins. I mean, he's beaten the Rams. I think he's only lost to the Rams one time in his whole career. I mean, he just
I'm not
may not be pretty, but he wins.
With that question you asked. See, I'm not a big Jimmy Garoppolo fan. I don't think he's good enough. I think if he was, if he was better, if he was good enough,
but
they would have won the championship when they went to the championship and played the Chiefs.
They're playing the Chiefs, bro. Like they're not.
He missed plays that cost them the game.
He missed the wide receiver in the end zone in the final play. I mean, he just.
If he hits it was a different story we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not sitting here beating down the door saying Trey Lance is the next guy. Could he be? I think he could be, and I think this team is set up for success the way that it's coached, and the defense and the weapons they do have is set well for Trey Lance to succeed.
I do believe that the skill set of Trey Lance and what Shanahan runs as an offense match well. I don't know if he can perform it, but the skill set is there.
I think going into this first year, the 49ers have got to lower their expectations, but they still, to me, could be a very easy playoff team.
The NFC, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's good enough. And once you get into the playoffs, anything can happen.
That's what they did last year. They got into the dance, and they beat 2 games that they should not have won. They were not favored. Neither one of them they won.
and they won, and left me and you shocked at home on the couch. But I think he could succeed. Now, how much is the question there? So.
Yeah, well, what do you call a success? If you call the playoffs a success, well, then that's a possibility. If you call making it to the NFC Championship where they made it last year, then no, I don't think we can do that.
No, I say for a success for the Niners is playoffs with basically he's not a rookie, but basically a rookie quarterback. What the Patriots did last year with a rookie quarterback was a success. All right, well, I got next. I got the I'm gonna go with the Browns here, and the Browns. My question for them is, and it all really relies on is how good they can be with Brissett as their quarterback, because it doesn't matter what Watson does after missing 12 games, 11. That's a weird number. After missing 11 games, it doesn't matter.
The Houston Texans in Game 12.
If Brissett, then there you go. If Brissett is total garbage and they don't walk out of this above 500, then I think we're talking about moving on to next year instead of, wow, the Browns have a roster to win now. They're just missing that quarterback.
Derek Collins said Jacoby Brissett is the man. They'll be 7-4 when they come out of it. I don't think that's the case.
7-4?
I mean, the first 6 games like we looked at, are doable.
Well, yeah, so, we talked maybe 4 and 2,
3 and 3. So
then you add on 5 more games.
7-4 would not be outside the realm of possibility, but I just don't know if Jacoby can do it.
Yeah, and that's the biggest obvious question going into the year for the Browns. Who you got next?
The LA Rams. Can Stafford's elbow and this tendonitis issue hold up throughout a whole year and playoff run and Super Bowl, because they don't have anything behind it? You want to talk about catastrophic injuries? The Rams have not planned for Matt Stafford to miss football games. So I couldn't even begin to tell you a name of who's backing Matt Stafford up. So can this elbow, can we cortisone it? Can we patch it? Whatever needs to be done to get through 17 weeks and playoffs and a Super Bowl run and make it through. I don't know. He took the preseason off, so we have no idea how bad it is or how bad it's affecting him. They like to go down the field. They like to that offense is known to open it up and go deep with Kupp and all those guys.
He's a gunslinger too.
Yeah, and so can that elbow make all those throws?
And they say he had this last year.
Yeah, I say he's been dealing with it for years, but I think it's progressively getting worse because nobody's said it before.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it last year. And now all of a sudden it's kind of come up. Maybe it's bugging him more, but he's a gunslinger. He's like that, like Brett Favre was. He'll throw it. Doesn't matter how risky it is. He's throwing the ball all over the field.
Yeah. I can make that throw. I can make that throw. I can make that throw.
Yeah, they're gonna have to rely maybe more on the running game than that arm of Stafford. But it's a good question. I got the Ravens next, and my question is, how much will Lamar Jackson hurt from lack of receivers? We already dog on this guy for not being able to throw the ball very well, and we make fun of him for being a great running back. But then you take away his best wide receiver in the offseason. His best wide receiver is probably his tight end, Andrews. He's a beast. But you take away Hollywood Brown. And
there's no
Hollywood, there's no deep threat. Hollywood Brown said that he left because he wanted to be used. He felt like he was misused there in Baltimore, and maybe that's the coaching. Maybe that's
you got a quarterback that can't throw the ball 30 yards.
You got a quarterback that can't accurately. And so how we already make fun of that, but how bad will it hurt him this season? Will we see a bigger drop off this year?
I don't see them winning any more than 9 games, but that's just me.
People are real high on them, and
they are. Everywhere I turn, I'm hearing the Rams. The Ravens, the Ravens, 2 seed. They're going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals and win the division. I do not see it.
I have them a wild card team.
Yeah, I don't.
That's where I got them, and I could see him missing the playoffs. I think they just think Lamar's just going to go off like he did and have another
I think they think he's
season.
going to come back to the MVP season, and I just don't see that. Especially because the year that he did have the MVP season, he did throw the ball down the field. He did throw the ball more than he'd ever thrown it, and he had statistic-wise, he had his best year of his career. And it's going to take that again to have that work out and be what they need it to be. And when you take all his tools away,
Yeah.
I don't think he can do it.
And it's going to take that for the Ravens to pay him the amount of money he wants.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't know about you, but
He better have an MVP
paying,
season or else he's walking.
But paying Lamar Jackson the guaranteed money like Deshaun Watson for a quarterback that runs the ball like he does is not
the only thing you can do in this situation is franchise tag him. That would be the only thing you could do. And you're still going to pay him more during the franchise tag. With the average of all these guys that are backing up the Brinks truck, you're going to pay him more than when you want to pay him.
Yep. Who you got next?
We're going to go the Seattle Seahawks. And
how ugly is this season going to get?
Yeah. I mean, what are the expectations? Pete Carroll says he's got 2 number 1 quarterbacks. I don't think you have any number 1 quarterbacks. He wants to make it sound like they're going to just pick up right where Russ left off. And I just don't believe that. I believe that this is a rebuild. I believe this is a complete, could have the worst record in the NFL, pick number 1 next year. But yet, somehow the Seahawks fans and Pete Carroll, and he's got everybody believing that this team can make the playoffs and woo, and if I'm DK Metcalf, why he wanted another deal there, I have no idea.
No idea. That's one loyal son of a gun. Because
I wanted out. You got rid of my guy, and you're going to have Geno Smith and Drew Lock throwing me the football. Craig and Brian might be throwing the football and maybe better. It's a bad deal. Neither one of those quarterbacks have proven that they can play at the NFL level at all.
At all.
And
did you see what Pete Carroll said?
I mean, I just kind of heard bits and pieces of like a quote, but I mean, he basically said he had 2 number 1s.
Well, no, he came out. I think it was yesterday, and said that he's won 10 games his whole as a coach, and they're just going to go in and why would I not expect to win 10 games this year? And
have you peeked your head in the quarterback room there, bro?
I guarantee you. First of all, for Seattle to get rid of a elite quarterback and choose a coach is asinine.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, Pete Carroll went in there and said,
75 or whatever he is.
And said, I can win without Russell Wilson. And they said, all right, prove it. And it's going to go badly. And Pete Carroll is going to lose his job after this season or the next year. And I can almost guarantee you that because they're going to be bad this year. And if your expectations is 10 wins for the Seattle Seahawks,
you're going to be.
You are
picking
on
the under, all in on the under on that deal.
You are on whatever Aaron Rodgers is taking in the offseason because it is.
In the survivor pool, give me everybody playing Seattle and the Jets.
Yes,
that's what I want.
Yes, definitely.
So I don't believe. I believe that they're on the hallucinogens. They're not gonna. I just don't see them winning.
All that bubblegum chewing up there has got him a little
So,
delusional.
all
right. Well, I'm gonna go with the Bills next, and I could have thought of multiple different questions for them. I could have thought of, will this defense step up? I could have thought of, will this rushing attack? Because the rushing game has been not too good the last couple of years. But my question is simply this. Is this the year the Bills end the losing streak in the Super Bowl? Is this the year they're finally going to prove that they can win the big game? Because we know the Bills' history. But with this team and the quarterback that they have and the team that they have, and the talented roster, and adding Von Miller and this head coach who I really, really like, their expectations and their fan base's expectations, rightfully so, should be Super Bowl or bust. And is this the year to get it done? Me and you, we already talked about our Super Bowl predictions. We both have the Bills winning it this season. So I'm going to say yes, it is the year. But what else do they got to prove? And that's what they've got to prove. They've got to prove that they can go get to the big game and that they can win it. And I think they're on their way. We'll see how it starts out for them on Thursday night. But
I mean, you got a real test coming out of the gate with the Super Bowl champions. I believe that they have. You can't ask for anything more. You have the roster back offensively. You gained the defensive pieces you were missing in Von Miller and some other pieces. Everything's there. So if you don't do it this year, it's not on ownership for not giving you the right parts. It's not on anybody. It's the players and the coaching that didn't get the job done when the time came down to it. And yes, everybody can lose on any given Sunday. I get that. But you got to, and if you lose another game like you did last year where you just don't get the overtime flip, then then you can't say anything. But if you go in and get blown out somewhere, or you go in and only win 8 games this year or 9 games this year for some reason, that's going to be hugely disappointing. To win anything under like 13 is going to be a very big disappointment for Buffalo.
Oh, definitely. Who's your next team there?
All right. So we got the Arizona Cardinals. And we could have gone several different directions with this one, but we're going to just go with the obvious. How much does the suspension of Hopkins hurt this football team offensively? And I believe that it's going to expose Kyler. I think it's going to expose Coach Burrow over there. I think he's going to be looking for a new job at the end of the season. I think they're going to be regretful, and ownership is going to regret paying Kyler all this money because they're going to find out that he's not the quarterback that they think he is, because his safety net of Hopkins, just where he just goes, runs around like a little video game guy and slings it up, and Hopkins saves him about 80% of the time. That guy's not going to be there to save you. So I believe that suspension and that guy missing, and then, of course, it's going to take a couple games of getting back into the swing of things. By the time he gets back and gets to mid-season form, it's going to be week 8 or 9, and I have a feeling that they're going to be in deep trouble. I don't think Kyler Murray is the quarterback that they think he is. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury is the offensive genius that they think he is. We already know that there's never been a Cliff Kingsbury team that knows how the word defense. They don't even know what that word is. They win by
how to finish
50.
a season.
Yeah, well, it's because they can't play defense, and they're just outscore everybody. That's Kingsbury. That was Kingsbury's motto at Texas Tech. It's been his motto in Arizona: hang 50 and hope for the best. Hope the other team doesn't score 51, because we don't know how to stop anybody. So I believe that Hopkins, they don't know ball control. They don't know how to drive down the field and take a drive. Every drive is 3 plays, throw it up as hard as I can, run around. Kyler Murray around the end, like a little video game character. And I just don't think he's the guy. And I think the suspension of Hopkins is going to expose that whole organization.
Oh, it's a massive miss there. The Hopkins. He missed a lot of last season.
And when he did, look what happened. He missed. When did he miss? He missed the end of the season, and that's when they went.
Oh,
he missed the back half of the season.
Yeah, he didn't hit. He missed a lot, and they missed a lot, and they started off on fire. We all thought was a little fluky, and we were right at the end of the day. The Cardinals ended up. The Cardinals. This is the weirdest thing ever. They basically said, "Hey, Kyler, you're immature. You don't study enough. You're not a team player, but we have no other option but to pay you."
So
and it's gonna
all
blow
the
up in their
money.
face. It's gonna blow up in their face. And I had the Cardinals missing the playoffs this season. My next team is the Denver Broncos, one of the most talked about teams in the offseason with the adding of the best pickup in the offseason, Russell Wilson. And my question is simply, and the success of this team relies on it, is how long will it take for Russ to get cooking? Okay, because he's learning a new system, he's learning new chemistry with teammates, he's doing all of that, right? He's coming in trying to bring his leadership into this building, and we've got good reviews so far. Everyone seems to love this guy. But how long will it take him to start cooking, and how long will it take him to put this offense together? And this defense is ready to go, okay? This defense is stacked, ready to go. They have offensive weapons. Jerry Jeudy's been horribly misused there, has had no quarterback to use him. I'm hopefully they're going to see a breakout season from him. They got Courtland Sutton on the outside. They got a great running back and a decent offensive line. And it all relies on how fast Russ can get going. And I think it's going to be faster than most think. That's really kind of the only question mark we have for Denver. But this is one of those weird things where I could see him winning the division, and I could see him in that tough division also finishing last place with 8 wins, because that division's so tough. So it's kind of hard to kind of gauge where they're going to be and how successful. What are the expectations for Bronco fans? Some probably think, okay, we're going to the Super Bowl, but I think you have to lower those expectations a little bit and go from there. But it's how long will Russ start cooking?
All right. We're going to go to the Minnesota Vikings. Is this the year that they can finally put it together and jump Green Bay and win the division and prove themselves to that the team that they have? It's solid. It's solid from top to bottom. The offense is solid. The defense is solid. You got a new head coach. Can they get it done in the last year of Cousins' deal? Cousins on a prove-it deal. Can they get it done? I don't know. I would like to think that if they stay healthy, it will be close. Because Cousins is playing on the prove-it deal, he doesn't have money. I think when he did that before, he had a light-out season. I think as long as Dalvin Cook can stay healthy, I think he is a top-tier running back. I think that defense is solid. And I think the question for Green Bay, we all know what that is.
Well, you're going to tell us
it'll be. I think it will be close. I think it will be closer than what people think. I really do. I think this division will go down to the final couple weeks. And I think that Minnesota will be right there. And I think they're going to be a team that you do not want to see in the playoffs because they play that kind of football. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. They have a third guy that is pretty solid out there that I don't know if they're going to use. But I think this is going to be – I think they win double-digit wins. As long as everybody stays healthy, I think they win double-digit games, and I think they give Green Bay a run for their money down to the end.
Oh, I got them a game back from Green Bay. I think it's close, just like you're saying. This team, they got rid of their old coach who didn't believe in their quarterback. They've got an offensive-minded coach now. I'm interested to see what they have. I'm not sleeping on the Minnesota Vikings. This is a team that's always talented, but they never put it together for some reason. So I'm not sleeping on Minnesota. There are only in our division, there are only really tough, talent that's going to actually compete with us for the division. So I think you're exactly right with that question. And my next team is the Houston Texans, and this is by far I really didn't know what to think about this because the Texans are so freaking bad. But my question is, will we see David Mills take the next step? I think that's kind of really what the Texans are probably hoping for. Excuse me, going into next year is you've got to see where your quarterback's at, and he played some decent games last year. I'm not going
He
to lie,
did.
there was some games where I was like, man, this guy's not looking too bad with what he's got to work with. So if they can give him a little bit to work with and see him make the next step, they can see if they have their future quarterback or not. But I that last year there's some games I said, man, he doesn't look half bad. So that's my question for the horrible Houston Texans.
I got the Lions next, and this again could have gone multiple ways, but I read an article today that said that the coach could be coach of the year, and the new linebacker Aiden Hutchinson could be player of the year, rookie of the year.
They said he's had a really good preseason.
They've had a really good preseason, and those guys are ready to run through a wall for him. Question is this the year that this team puts everything together and doesn't necessarily make a playoff run or a big Super Bowl run or anything like that, but do they get over 500, and do they set themselves up for the future? And I think the answer is yes. They've made a lot of good decisions draft-wise. They had a very good draft with the kid from Alabama who won't play the first 4 weeks, but I think he's a stud wide receiver. They've got Amon St. Brown, and they went and got DJ Shark from Deal. My only question is, Goff, this is a prove-it year for him. They're either going to have to decide to re-up him, or they're going to have to decide to go back in the draft. If you win double-digit games, obviously Goff is your guy. If you win 5 or 6, you're going to have to make a decision at some point in the season to shut it down and go into tank mode so you can get one of these guys that are coming out. Can't win 8 games and expect to get a guy.
Nope.
So you need to make a decision real quick on how your season's going to go, whether you need to rebuild and Goff's not my guy, or whether we're going to win 10 games and Goff's my guy and we're going to pay him and happily ever after. I don't know what the plan is, but I think they think that he can win with Goff. And I think they win 9 games this year. Maybe 8, but I think they can win 9 games this year. If Aiden Hutchinson can get around, you noticed the difference when he played against first string and when he played against the guys that weren't going to make the team. You definitely noticed the difference. But if he has a good year, then I think we're good. And so I think they make a big step this year. I don't think they make the playoffs, but I think they take a big step.
Yeah, the Lions head coach is fantastic. I like the guy. I want to run through a wall for him, but I like that. You want to see them make that progression. You want to see them take that next step as a team that can show that they're going to set themselves up, like you said. Maybe win 8, maybe win 9 games, and say, okay, the Lions are close. They're on the brink of something special. I think that's totally manageable and totally reasonable for the fans and the expectations set for the Lions and what they've got. But my next team is the Colts. My question for them is, can Matt Ryan turn this team around? Carson Wentz could not. I thought Carson Wentz was going to go in there and be the next thing that they needed, but he wasn't. So I do believe that Matt Ryan will kind of will turn this team around. I have this team in the playoffs this season. I have them winning their division. I think Matt Ryan's going to be big. His veteran leadership. He's still got an arm. left, and I think his decision making with the football and knowing he doesn't have to make every single play, relying on their rushing attack, relying on the offensive line and that defense. I think the Colts are going to have a very successful season this year, win their division, and make the playoffs. So I do think Carson Wentz not Carson Wentz, but Matt Ryan will turn this team around.
I don't know. My only question is, does Father Time come for him? He had a pretty good season last year, even with the Atlanta Falcons, who didn't give him a lot to work with. He's going to have a better offensive line, but I just don't know if it's time to hang it up and if it's time to move on. Matt's had a very good career. I think he's on the borderline of being a Hall of Famer. Statistic-wise, I think he's a Hall of Famer, but I think he needs that deep playoff run or Super Bowl ring to solidify that spot in the Hall of Fame. I think that's kind of what he's holding on for. I think that's why he went to Indy, because he thinks that they're that direction and they thought that's what Carson Wentz was for. And he thinks he can do it. But I don't know. Just Matt Ryan, just when you're up 28-3 and you can't get a first down when you need one, that sticks in the back of my head. And I understand he doesn't play defense, but I just think that at time is Matt Ryan's enemy, and I can't pull the trigger on supporting that he's going to be good enough to deal. I think he's good enough to win you 9 games. I don't know if that's enough in the AFC to get you in the door.
I think they're more around 10-7, 11-6 at the most.
11 gets you in. I don't even know if 10 gets you in the AFC. That's the problem.
I'm bumping down the Titans, so I got the Colts winning that division, and if they win that division,
keep an eye on the dark horse over there. Keep an eye on the Miami Dolphins.
Oh well, I'm not a believer in Tua, so I think depends. It depends on if he's as bad as he thinks he is, or but your next team.
The next team is the Green Bay Packers. How much does the loss of Devontae Adams really hurt that offense? And I believe that it's not crippling as what people say it is. I believe Aaron Jones steps up and has a better season. That's why I picked him in fantasy, and I'm going to ride him like Seabiscuit.
He's going to have a good year.
I believe he is. And now my concern is we're not starting off real great because Alan Lazard has an undisclosed injury and may not play week 1. And I'm not real sure what we're undisclosing, but we need to figure it out.
And Watson hasn't played one lick yet, so
no. And neither has Rodgers. We don't know if that's a big deal.
Welcome back, Cat. Welcome back.
Okay. Only because they got Tyreek Hill.
You brought up the Dolphins. And
let's not.
The Dolphins only because they got Tyreek Hill.
Tua's trash. Let's not. The guy throwing him the ball, that's no big deal. I think he's going to help, but I think Jalen Waddle's going to have a bang-up season as well.
Well, let's go back to Green Bay. We'll get to the Dolphins.
Green Bay, I believe will survive it. Again, my question is, do they have enough to beat Minnesota? I think they do, but if we're starting off with Lazard being out with an injury or undisclosed problem, and we're starting out with that schedule's not favoring for them.
No, we're not. We have a pretty tough schedule this year.
You need all your weapons. So if we're already starting behind the 8 ball with our wide receiver, because I think Lazard's going to have a bang-up season. I really do. But I don't think it cripples him. I think Aaron Rodgers, every time you tell this guy that he can't, he's like Brady. You say Father Time is undefeated, and they just think that He's not going to do it. He's going to fall off. He's got arguments with the management. He's got arguments with the coach. It's always something against this guy, and every year he proves everybody wrong, wins back-to-back MVPs, and you know.
I don't think it's going to be as crippling as people think.
As what everybody believes. I believe they think they're only going to win 8 games. They're going to miss the playoffs. He's going to be fired. Rodgers is going to retire. They're going to get rid of him. I don't think any of those things happen.
No, definitely not. All right, well, since we got Cat back and we're talking about the Dolphins, I'll bring that as my next team here. And Cat, in case you missed it, we're going over questions for every NFL team headed into the season. And this is a simple question. Is Tua the guy? We talked about it before. The guy going into this season with the most pressure on him is Tua. There's no more excuses. You've got no more excuses to be bad. No more excuses of the question of is this our franchise quarterback? You've cut Brian Flores has come out. We've seen the debacle of that. With that is he talked down to Tua, didn't really like Tua, all that behind the scenes. Maybe now that he's got a coach that believes in him, he says, I quote, has the most accurate catchable ball he's ever seen. Maybe he thrives there with that. Adding Tyreek Hill, yes, Cat, will help the Dolphins, will help Tua if he's accurate with the football. But they've got to figure out this team's roster is built to win now. This team has a good roster. They've got guys on defense. They've got guys on offense. They've got a great wide receiving crew. They need to figure out, can Tua lead us to the promised land? Because if he can't, we need to move on from him, and you need to move on from
Chase Edmonds and a running back right there. They got Edmonds. They think he's going to have 1,200 yards this year, and they got Mostert behind him. They went and got the guy from San Francisco. They got Mostert behind him. Now my problem is, I think he's going to be okay and good enough to do it. But my problem is, I watched the preseason, and I watched Tyreek Hill cheetah his way down the middle of the field, and he's jumping up and down like he's, the last man on the back of the field. And Tua crow hops and throws one, and Tyreek had to make a sandwich before it came down. He caught it, and he still went to the house for a touchdown for 55 yards, but I don't know what defense they were playing against, because any NFL defense would have been back there around Tyreek Hill waiting for the ball to come down. Tyreek burned everybody. He was behind the defense, and he had to literally stop and wait for it, and caught it, and then he did his Tyreek Hill to the end zone. But I still think the question is, can he throw the ball more than about 30 yards in the air?
Yeah.
That's the question.
And I don't think so.
I think that injury where his bone went through the other bone and went out his hip has taken away some of the distance that he can, because he in Alabama could make all those throws. There was not a throw he couldn't make when he came out of college. He came back in an NCAA championship against Clemson and made every throw he needed to make, slung the ball around the yard, and won the title for that team. I think that injury really hindered his career, but we'll see.
We'll see. All right, you got next? Who you got next, sir?
What's the last team in that division? Minnesota, Detroit.
The Bears.
The Bears. Oh, yeah, here we go. How soon, in which week does the coach get fired in Chicago? Because that is a dumpster fire. Here is a team who we don't even know what the direction they're trying to go.
They don't even know.
They fired the coach. That's what I'm saying. They fired the coach. They got rid of the quarterback. They don't want to pay their one defensive superstar. He's ready to be traded. They went and got Justin Fields, but they don't put nothing around it. They don't give him nothing to deal with. They give him no protection. He's running around like a chicken with his head cut off back there. Has no protection. He has no running game. He has no wide receivers. They got rid of Allen Robinson. They didn't pay him, so they lose his best receiver. What direction is this team trying to go? Other than they want to build a new stadium, they want to put all this money in, but what direction? You're showing your fans the wrong move. You go and draft the quarterback, and then you do everything opposite of what you do after you draft the quarterback.
I was going to say, I've never seen a team draft a quarterback knowing he's their future,
go backwards,
and they've done nothing to help the guy.
No.
And we'll never know. We'll never know if Justin Fields will be the guy or not, because
they don't know. Yeah, he's going to be another Ohio State bust because they didn't unfault of his own.
If Justin Fields gets this team to 7 or 8 wins this year,
he should be MVP.
This team MVP of the season.
I understand that's not going to happen, but he should be.
Oh.
Give him the trophy because there's no way this team wins more than 3 games.
And Austin this morning at work was yesterday morning was telling me, "Oh, Justin Fields look good in preseason."
No, he does.
I said
because in preseason they don't blitz.
They don't blitz, or they're playing backups. I said, "Look, you just don't get how bad the Bears are. You just won't understand." I try to tell them, but
I would be shocked if they won more than 3 or 4 games.
My next team is the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they had a lot of distractions last year, Craig. A lot of unnecessary BS from Urban Meyer. And my question is, will this team respond without all the distractions from Urban Meyer? I think they will. I think I still got belief in that Trevor Lawrence is going to be a good quarterback. Okay. I didn't say an elite quarterback. I said a good quarterback. They've got a good running back. They've got who's their head coach? What's his face from Philadelphia? What's the guy? Doug Peters. Doug Peters got Carson Wentz to play good. Doug Peters got Nick Foles to play out of his butt, and they won the championship. This is
because Doug Peters ruined Carson Wentz.
This is a quarterback coach. I think he can come in there and give this team a little bit of jolt. I'm not saying this team's going to the playoffs. I'm just saying, will they bounce back from the unnecessary distractions of Urban Meyer and how corrupt and evil that guy is? Who's got another job. I don't know how he continues to get jobs, but I think they come out, they win 7 games maybe this season. And I do think Trevor Lawrence will have a pretty good year. Okay. I think they're that team that no one's really talking about because no one really talks about the Jaguars, and I think they win with just a easy, simple head coach change because Urban Meyer was that piss poor of a NFL head coach.
Urban Meyer's a toxic human being.
Toxic yeah.
Any guy that fakes a heart attack to get out of a job is just a toxic human being. And then he faked it to get out of his marriage because he wanted out of there to go back to coaching. It's a mess. Here's the deal. I wasn't doing this show when Trevor Lawrence became in the NFL, but I have said from the day that I saw that guy that he was overrated from the word overrated. I mean, he should have played for Oregon and had the big O on his helmet because that's how overrated he was. He's not an NFL quarterback. I said the same thing about Tim Tebow back years ago, and I was right about that
garbage.
Too. Garbage. Trash. He's the best college football player to ever play the game, and he was garbage on Sunday. I'm telling you that Trevor Lawrence is in over his head. Now, is part of that the team he's playing for? 100%. That team is like a turnstile on the offensive line. They have no time. They have no deal. Having Urban Meyer as your head coach set him back 5 years instead of 1 because that team is now starting the rebuild that they should have started 2 years ago. This team was in the AFC Championship not too long ago. And now
the Super Bowl.
100%. 100%. That was a fumble. They got it. Blowing whistles dead. That was a terrible call. They should have beat New England, and they should have gone to the Super Bowl. But Trevor Lawrence is not the answer. And I think they are going to find that out. And I think they're going to end up moving on from him. I think that is when the Jacksonville Jaguars will start to come out of this, is when Trevor Lawrence. Now, if you give him 3 more years, 4 more years, and put an elite offensive line and an elite, I think Travis Etienne is the real deal. I think he's going to have a good season. But I just don't think Trevor Lawrence is the guy. I mean, maybe he proves me wrong, but I just don't think he's the guy. I think Trevor Lawrence is a career backup. I think he is your what's the guy in Carolina who's Sam Darnold. I think that's what his career is going to be, is bouncing around, playing second string, holding the clipboard.
It'll be one of the biggest.
It'll be one of the biggest draft busts in the deal, and that's what I called it as. I called it as your Ryan Leaf, your Tim Tebow, your number one guys that came out with all the hype in the world and just didn't pan out. And I believe that's what Trevor Lawrence is.
Who's your next team, sir?
We're going to go with the New York Giants. Now that Tyrod Taylor is out of the picture and Daniel Jones went and voodoo dolled him out and got him hurt again, where do the Giants go at the quarterback position? Is Daniel Jones an NFL quarterback?
No.
And the answer is no. The answer is, when they drafted that guy, as a Dallas Cowboy fan, I was doing cartwheels in the living room because that guy is in over his head. You want to talk about overrated? Well, he's not overrated because nobody even knew about him when he drafted him. They asked who he was when they drafted him. But he's just not the guy. He's not the guy. That team is going to burn and crash. I think Saquon Barkley has a good season because I think that's all they can do around him. I think he tries to stay healthy, but I don't know if he does. The guy's been paper mache the last few years. We'll see. When you get hit a bunch of times and you have a bunch of carries, I just don't know. I think they need to cut bait. They've already declined the 5th-year option. I think they just need to cut bait and go back into the draft and start over. And I think that's what they're going to do. I think that's why Jones is going to start. And I think they're going to be one of the worst teams in football and
get another top 5 pick. Totally agree. My next team is the Chiefs. Kat, if you're still listening and watching, my question is, how bad would Hill being gone affect Mahomes? We've had this discussion a little bit before, and I think it hurts them more than it does the Green Bay Packers and losing Devontae. It's not going to open up the field as much as Patrick Mahomes would want. There's not that that threat. You have a threat of MVS, but he's not Tyreek Hill. There's not that. I don't think Patrick Mahomes can just go and heave it down the field and know Tyreek's down there. You know what I mean? He just gets him out of a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it was a safety net. Absolutely.
So I do think it hurts him a little bit. I'm not saying that this team isn't going to make the playoffs. I think they're a playoff team. This team could win their division. A lot of people have them win their division this year. I don't, but you could easily see them win the division. I think it hurts them, but not as much as not enough to just totally tank the team. So, but that's their question mark going into the season.
I think Tyreek Hill is worth 2 losses. I think there's 2 games that they would have won with Tyreek Hill that they will not win without him. So if they were going to win 12 games, they win 10. And I just don't think that 10's enough to win that division. Now, it could be because they're all beating up on each other.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to lose a bunch of games amongst each other, and they all play each other twice. So 10 might get it done. But I think it's 2 losses. I think there's 2 games that you're going to lose that you would have won, that Tyreek Hill was there. I think he's worth 2 wins. Is what I think Miami will win 2 football games that they probably wouldn't have won. And I think Kansas City will lose 2 games that they would have won with Tyreek Hill on their roster. That's kind of where I'm at is 2 wins.
I can definitely see that. Who you got next?
The Washington Commanders. And there's a million ways we could go with this. But we're going to go with the obvious one. Can Carson Wentz resurrect a career that started off as what looked like the MVP? And the answer is no. I think Carson Wentz somehow lost whatever he had. I believe that he has all the weapons. That wide receiving crew is amazing. McLaurin's happy now. He got paid. You got another burner down there. The running game's going to suffer because the running back got shot for doing nothing. And their defense is going to suffer because their stud defensive end is on PUP for 4 games. So I think this team can win 10 games, and I think this team can win 4 games. I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think they probably win 7 or 8. It's kind of where I'm looking. But I don't think Carson Wentz – I think Carson Wentz is your average – Carson Wentz is your Jimmy Garoppolo. He is your middle of the run, average tier quarterback that can win you some football games and can also lose you some football games. Here's a guy who had to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars last year that were in a dumpster rolling down a hill on fire in the last game of the season and couldn't do it. And so I just don't think the guy has the swagger, the confidence, the aptitude to do what he needs to do to win football games. And I think he's going to win you some with some good throws, but I think he's really going to throw you out of some games with some bad ones. And so I think that's going to be where we draw the line. I think that's where I don't think Carson Wentz is the answer. I think Washington's hoping it, but I don't think it is.
He's definitely not the answer. I thought he was going to be the answer for the Colts, but that was no go. My next team. Oh, did you lose your headphones?
Yeah, they died.
Okay.
We're good though.
I'm echoing on my end, real bad.
My bad.
My next team, is the Raiders, and this isn't really a question for me. It is more of a statement. And that is, there's no more excuses for Derek Carr. There's no more. The Raiders have been a talented football team, and they've had a team, but they've never put it together. They've never shown that they can put it together. And there's no more excuses. They went out and got your best friend, Devontae Adams, this offseason. There's just no excuse. His team is too good. He's got a good defense. His secondary is a little sketchy, but he's got a good pass rush. He's got one of the best wide receiver crews in the NFL. If they get the rushing game going, this offense should be pretty deadly. So there's just no more excuses for Derek Carr not to put it together.
No, yeah, absolutely. Josh Jacobs might save him, but Devontae Adams in the offense and the new head coach in Josh McDaniels, I think you have all the answers, and I think you have everything you need. You're playing in you got a tough draw with adding Russ to the division and San Diego having Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. You got a bad draw there, but you made the playoffs last year with that team, and you've upgraded in the wide receiver core dramatically. And I am riding the Derek Carr bandwagon. He's the fantasy starting quarterback. We're riding. We're going to hope that he does everything he says he's going to do. He had a great career with Devontae in college. They know each other. We know how that worked with Burrow and Chase. So we're going to see how it works out. But I think that I had him make the playoffs. I had him making the playoffs, and I had Denver being the only one that didn't. And I think they do. I think they can really, really, really make a run in that division. I think they're probably second. I think San Diego probably deal, but them and Kansas City are going to be down to the last game. I think they probably tie, and head-to-head is going to be a very important tiebreaker in that division. I think them and Kansas City will be neck and neck, and I think if you lose to Kansas City both times, I think that's going to be where you lose the playoff spot and lose the spot in the division. So, and Kansas City has been kryptonite for them in the past. They've gotten some big shootouts with Patrick Mahomes, and you don't want to do that. So you're going to need some help from that defense. But I think Derek Carr's the real deal, and I think the Raiders are the real deal.
You know, there's a lot of hate on Derek Carr. I think he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL, and I think a lot of people don't think he's very good. And this is the year to prove it, right? They you know, if you don't do good this year, and go, look, we gave you Devontae Adams. You've gotten better, and you still couldn't get the job done. So I want to see them compete for that division. We'll see if it happens or not.
Absolutely. Okay. We got the Philadelphia Eagles. And
a lot of hype on them.
The question is, they have built this team to win now.
Yep.
And my question is the quarterback good enough to take this team on his back and carry this team into the playoffs that they built? And the answer is no to me.
No.
I think the answer is no, and I think that they're going to suffer dramatically from quarterback play. Jalen Hurts is not the answer. He never was the answer.
He's a lesser Lamar Jackson.
100%. Him winning the Heisman Trophy over in Oklahoma was the worst thing that could have ever happened, because it gave people a false sense of this guy's amazing. And I don't have any faith in him. If he was my starting quarterback, I would be in shambles going into the NFL season. I just don't think this guy. You want to talk about overrated? That him and Trevor Lawrence are paddling the same boat, because I just don't have any faith in this guy. He tries to run too much. He wants to gunslinging around the yard, and yes, they got some wide receiver help for him this year, and that might help a little bit. But I think if you face a tough defense, or you put some guys on the end and don't let him outside the tackles, you keep this guy pinned in. I just think he's not a pocket passer. He's not your NFL quarterback. We're not in college anymore. We're not running around. We're not playing the run and shoot. We're not playing in Oklahoma. We're not playing Red River rivalries. You know, we're playing in the NFL, and I just don't think Jalen Hurts computes.
You're exactly right. I have no faith in Jalen Hurts just as much as you do, and I think they're trying to sell you a bag of goods, because Jalen Hurts is not that guy. He's like I said, he's the
Lamar Jackson.
He's a broke man's Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's kind of what him and Kyler, I think that's what they've all based their game around. They've all based their game around the same thing, playing college football in the NFL.
All right, my next team is going to be the Chargers, and this kind of goes back to the Raiders, and it's or kind of Buffalo. Can they finally put it together? This team has been in their way a long time. They shoot themselves in the foot. Jeff would call it the Dallas Cowboy effect. Okay, it's just something where they've never put it together. They've got the team on paper. They've had teams back. The Chargers went 15-1 back in the day with a loaded roster and lost in the first round of the playoffs. There's something about them that they just can't put it together. And this team on paper should be the best team in the NFL. They've got a loaded roster. I like their head coach. I love their quarterback. Their quarterback is absolutely fantastic. And usually a good head coach and a elite or getting there a quarterback, amazing quarterback, means you're going to win and win big. So I think this is the year they put it together and take a deep run. But that's my question for the Chargers. And I think that's what a lot of their fans are thinking is, can we finally put it together and show that we're on that next tier of a team in the NFC or the AFC? Sorry.
All right.
Who you got next?
Dallas Cowboys. What does these injuries that they have suffered in the preseason mean for the Dallas Cowboys? You've lost your left tackle. You still have Michael Gallup that they say could play if game one is the Super Bowl, but he's not going to for probably 3 weeks. You've got a rookie left tackle. You've got a guy on the right side that they don't have any faith in. They don't have any faith in the center and Baidez. The offensive line is not good. They can run block better than they can pass block. They did sign Jason Peters, but he won't be ready till probably week 3.
And he's 40.
He's 40.
Oh.
When you watch the tape, he can block to his side, but when you run away from him, watch out because he just lets that guy go and the running back gets crushed. He cannot block when the play goes away from him. If there's play action and the play goes away from him, Dak, watch your back. The guy's coming. Anytime the play goes away from him, he misses his guy. I don't know if it's a footing deal. I don't know if it's a timing issue. I don't know if he can't get to that side. If the play's going that way, if he goes that way with it, that's fine. If the play goes away from him, he has to go the other way and he can't get back. I don't know. But I was watching the film and it's not good. So, again, just like I said with Tyreek, I think 2 wins, but I still think if you look at the schedule, if this team just doesn't shoot itself in the foot, it should still win 10 games. And I am saying that with the precursor of I'm calling 0-2 out of the gate. I think you beat the Giants twice. I think you beat the Commanders twice. I think you split with the Eagles, and I think you split with the Eagles. So I think you win 5 games of the 6 in the division, and then you play the Texans, you play the Jacksonville Jaguars, you got the Lions, which I'm not going to say that we're going to beat the Lions. I mean, but on paper, you probably should since they're a year or 2 away. I think you play Seattle again. I mean, so you have the schedule in front of you. Somehow it's a first place schedule, but yet it becomes kind of simple. But boy, it hurts. And I think Dak Prescott is going to hear the fans and hear the absolute criticism if he does not put this team on his back and elevate his game somehow and show why they paid him the money. I think Dak Prescott needs to be not average, not minimal. I think he needs to be elite, or he's going to hear from every fan in Dallas and every fan in the NFL.
He's got a lot of pressure on him to perform. I told you, this is the year. This is the year for Dak to prove it. My next team I got is the Patriots. And I had the simple question of, is Mac Jones the guy? I still think they have questions there about Mac Jones. I've heard he's taken a step back this offseason, this preseason, that he hasn't really progressed where they want him to be. But I got a bigger question for you. And that bigger question is, will this draft hurt the Patriots? This draft was one of the worst drafts I've seen from a Bill Belichick draft. And I think when you look back at it, I think Bill got away with some bad drafts because he had Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady was there. He's going to cover up a lot of the issues. I'm going to draft some guys that aren't going to be that great, and Tom will help cover those up. And I think maybe we're seeing this is what his drafts look like with a quarterback that's not Tom Brady, with a non-elite quarterback. And these drafts will catch up to this franchise eventually. Having drafts where your first-round draft picks taking a third-round offensive lineman, where everyone was like, what is he doing? We're going to see. Now, what he did last season and what they got going on there with Mac Jones and getting to the playoffs was fantastic. No one thought that they were going to go there. Could they make the playoffs again this year? Yes. I do not have them making the playoffs. I think Mac Jones takes a step back. I think this is the year that Bill Belichick doesn't look all that great. And there's already those talks about, well, it's Tom Brady was the guy there and it wasn't Bill. So if they have a losing season where they don't make the playoffs, then it turns into the question of when is Bill on the way out? And I think we're looking at that sooner than later with the Patriots.
Absolutely. I believe Mac does take a little bit of a step back because nobody expected what he did last year. Nobody expected the efficiency. Nobody expected what he had. He lost a wide receiver in N'Keal Harry. The draft is still mind-boggling. Nobody knows what he was doing. I think his time in New England is numbered. I think maybe he survives till next year at max. I think that's kind of where he exits. I think the draft starts to catch him a little bit this year, but definitely next year. Mac Jones has always had elite protection. He had it in Alabama. The protection was pretty good last year. I think when your offensive line struggles, which it will this year, I believe he's going to have some trouble. He doesn't have the people that he wants. I think they take a step back this year, and I think the Dolphins jump him. I really do. If Tua is the guy that I think he is, I think those two teams switch places, and I think they finish second in the division and take that spot. So there's that. All right, so we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have had the same thing as Dallas this year. They've had some catastrophic injuries. From what I'm hearing from the head coach, they're all supposed to play in opening week. I don't know how effective they'll be. Chris Godwin took his knee brace off. My question is, does Father Time finally win? He's undefeated. Tom's got some off-the-field issues with that nobody can really confirm, with Giselle leaving to go to Costa Rica, packing up the house. Does Father Time or the off-field distractions finally get to this team and affect Brady enough to where he is not the elite quarterback that he has always been and hurt Tampa Bay? And I just don't know. They say the head coach said he was all in when he got there, and he's all in now, and he's locked in, and he has no fears. Their schedule is not easy. That schedule, if you look at it, they play Dallas, they play Green Bay, they play Kansas City. That team could very easily, if they don't answer the bell, be behind the 8 ball to start and be 1-2, 0-3. I personally think they beat Dallas. think they're more talented than Dallas. But they could very easily lose to Green Bay and Kansas City if that team's not firing on all cylinders. And Brady doesn't like to get hit. That offensive line is in shambles. They did lose the center, even though they think Wirtz is going to play. I think he's compromised at best. And I think that team struggles to get out of the gate. Now, do they have a more favorable schedule down the stretch? Maybe. But I think that team is going to struggle more than what we thought. I don't see them being the 1 seed. Mike.
It feels like a rush job to get these guys back just to start to see
100%, especially on the offensive line.
Yeah, and how good are they? You're going to end up getting someone hurt the rest of the year. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely,
look,
Brady doesn't like to be rushed, and I think especially with their guard and Wirtz, I think with the center going down, I think if the center didn't get hurt, then they don't rush him. But with him being hurt and all this, I 100% agree that they're rushing this guy back.
I mean, I think there's a way that the Dallas Cowboys can win this game. Pressure.
I see a path that they can.
Tom Brady.
And if Tyron was healthy and everything like that, then maybe. But I think it's going to be, if you were a betting person, take the under, because I think both offenses are going to be horrible that night. I think it's going to be 13-10.
And you ain't going to run on the Bucks.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're not going to run, and you're passing. You've got one guy and a bunch of rookies as a wide receiver. You better come up. Kellen Moore better have some trickeries in the book, because Zeke ain't cutting it. They can run block better than they can pass block, but not against that defense, not against that front. That front seven is stout. And so I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. And if Tampa comes out and stops them right away and gets that offense rolling, I think Dallas is in for a long night. If Dallas's defense is what they say it is on paper, then their defense is going to – Dallas, if they're going to win 10 games, it's going to be because their defense is better than offense. That's all there is to it.
All right, my next team is the Jets. And my question is, will the Jets jet their quarterback position? Are they looking to move on from Zach Wilson too soon? Now, he is looking to be on track to start game 1, which is good for him. And I think they really got to give this guy some time to see who he really is. I think he has a better season than last year, but wins and loss column, I don't think so.
No.
His stats might be better. He might not throw as many interceptions. He might put up more yards or more touchdowns and look more comfortable. But I still think that the Jets' schedule is, by gosh, one of the worst in the league. And I think that win and loss column. But the Jets there's rumors that they're ready to already move on from him, and I don't think they've given enough time to figure out if he's the guy or not.
Problem is, I think they're judging him on the wrong stat. I think they're judging him on wins and losses, and that's the wrong stat to go on. If the kid makes improvements and statistically is better and cuts down the interceptions, increases the touchdowns, increases the yards, and has a better season, then I think you give him a chance. Like we said, I think he goes 0-7 to start out with, and I think you're judging him on the wrong thing. So anyhow, my next team is the Carolina Panthers. Does the move that they made at the quarterback position in the trade they made for Baker Mayfield save the job of the head coach? And I believe the answer is no. I believe Matt Rule will be fired, whether it's midseason or whether it's after the season. I believe they won't extend Baker Mayfield. This is a one-year deal. Baker will be back out on the market next year. I believe there's still holes in Carolina that have not been filled and have not been answered draft-wise. Christian McCaffrey he's durable as a uncooked spaghetti noodle. I don't think that team does enough to save Matt Rule's job. I think the only way Matt Rule saves his job is that team to make the playoffs, and I don't see that happening.
And then he goes back to college, probably.
100%.
My next team is the Steelers. And my question's kind of easy for them. Is going with Mitchell Trubisky the right move for the Pittsburgh Steelers? I'm going to say no. And I'm glad that Mitchell Trubisky is getting another shot with a competent organization, because the Bears were not competent. He was a backup and with the Bills.
Yeah, you had no shot playing in behind Josh Allen to ever see the field.
But if I'm the fan base of the Steelers and I am the organization of the Steelers, I'm looking for my future. And Mitch Trubisky's not going to take you to the Super Bowl. Breaking news, a hot take there, but he's not. So you need to see what Kenny Pickett is. And he's showed you some highlights. He showed you some progress there in the offseason. And I think they should go ahead and say, sorry, Mitch, this is Kenny Pickett's team now. He looked pretty good this offseason. He had some flashes, and they need to build upon that. And I kind of feel like it's more of what game will he start? Because I think Mitchell Trubisky will throw his way out of some games, and they're going to go, okay, well, when do we cut bait here and start our future quarterback? And they may have got the steal of the draft. If Kenny Pickett turns out to be their next elite franchise quarterback as good, and they got him at pick 20, that's pretty daggum good. So we'll see there for Pittsburgh.
When this draft came out, I did not think any of these quarterbacks were worth a first-round grade. I thought Kenny Pickett was in over his head playing at Pitt. I thought that was just he faced some elite, some inferior competition. He didn't face any of the big dogs. He didn't play out of the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Michigans. He didn't have a defense that he really faced that was a pro-style defense. He played a bunch of guys that were not on the same level, and I just really thought that he wouldn't be as successful as he would. So I was in agreement that Trubisky should start, and he should wait a year, and Pickett should sit and watch and whatever. I watched preseason, and I know preseason's preseason. You're throwing against guys that aren't playing on teams probably. But I think Pickett should start. He has the base. He has the fan base hollering his name. People are calling his name. He's got a great rapport with the rookie wide receiver in Pickens. I just think that's the guy, and you need to see what you got before you waste a year, and then you find out that it's not the guy, and now we're 3 years into it, 4 years into it, and we're like the Giants down here with Daniel Jones, and we're 5 years into it or 4 years into it, and we don't have our guy, and we're no better off than we were. Deal. I think if he's confident enough to play and show that he has the skills to play, then he needs to play. And Mitchell Trubisky, we all know, is not the answer. He's mid-level bus driver, keep you out of the field. But the head coach has never lost. Never had a losing record, and I think he wants to keep that. And I think he thinks Kenny Pickett probably tries to gunsling his way and might not be the guy just yet. So we'll see.
Who you got next, brother?
The Atlanta Falcons. And the question is, where do they go from here? With the loss of Matt Ryan and their wide receiver being suspended for gambling on football, what direction does this organization want to go? I think they need to rebuild. I think they got a new head coach. I think that they just need to play for next year, play for a draft, play for whatever, and hope that they get their wide receiver back. Hope he doesn't lose too much in his skill set. But I just don't think I wouldn't expect much from this team this year, because I just don't know. They don't really have a identity. They just don't have a anything to build around. They have no defensively. They're not strong defensively. They're not strong offensively. They just have this. It's a team with no identity.
Yep.
And
This is the worst spot that I've ever seen Atlanta.
There's no. You're going to win some games just off talent alone, and it's going to hurt you. So
They started that rebuild way too late. They hung on to those guys way too long.
Matt Ryan for probably 2 years too long, a year too long. Once the Super Bowl went the sideways and you blew a 28-3 lead, you needed to blow it up and start over, and they didn't do it. And yes, I think they're 2 years behind the power curve.
Well, my last and final team is the Tennessee Titans, a team that I don't believe in. I think I've been very clear here with that on the podcast. But my question, and it lingers on this whole team, will Derrick Henry stay healthy? Because if Derrick Henry's healthy, this team is a competitive football team that will fight deep and make a playoff run. If this team is not healthy, their quarterback fades away. He throws way too many interceptions, and he doesn't show up. So I think this team relies on their running back way too much, and they just lost their best pass rusher for the whole season. They're going to miss him on the defensive side of the ball. So I think that they missed the playoffs this year, but that's the question mark for them. If Derrick Henry is healthy, this team will make the playoffs, and if Derrick Henry is not healthy, then I think they miss it.
Okay, last team I got is the New Orleans Saints. The question is, does getting back all your offensive weapons, is that enough with a new head coach to make the playoffs? I heard a deal today that there's people that are picking them to be the 1 seed in the NFC.
How in the world does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people are going on the Jameis Winston train. They think Jameis Winston is going to have a phenomenal season. They think with Michael Thomas coming back, Alvin Kamara not being suspended, that defense is on point. I don't see it because I think Tampa wins the division, and I think some other teams in the NFC East and West have better seasons than the Saints, but we'll see. I don't know. Jameis always is your guy that he throws a bunch of touchdowns, but he also makes a bunch of poor decisions and throws a lot of interceptions and throws you out of some games. Michael Thomas has not played a meaningful game of football in a season and a half. Seems to be happy in the preseason, seems to be okay, seems to be on the same page, but I don't know. I don't have that kind of confidence. I kind of picked them to be the 8 seed, but
hey, I put them in the playoffs. Number 1, no, but I put them in the wild card. So
I don't know. We'll see. I'd have to go look at their schedule and see what kind of schedule they have, what kind of draw they have there. I just don't have the confidence in Winston that I have in some of these other guys. New head coach. I think you got to wait a year before you crown the New Orleans Saints as back in business.
All right, guys, we're going to move on to the NFL schedule and give you our picks for the week. And we are going to give you who we think is going to win. And we're going to keep track of this, and we'll bet lunch or whatever on it later down the road or whatever. We'll bet whatever you want to bet on it. We'll get those details a little bit later. But Thursday, let's start with Thursday night football. All right, we got Buffalo Bills. We talked about it earlier, right out of the gate. They got a tough one. Craig, who do you have winning this one?
I think Buffalo takes it. You're playing in LA. That's going to help LA. Super Bowl champs, but I got to ride with Josh Allen as revenge tour to start off with a bang. You don't want to start off your revenge tour with a loss, and I just think Buffalo's tough enough defensively that they can get it done.
I agree. I got Buffalo winning this one too. I went back and forth on this one. The defending champions at home. I think they're going to come out a little sluggish and a little lackluster, and I think the Buffalo Bills get off to a good start there. So I got the Bills winning that one too Thursday night. Now, real quick, because this says it's on NBC. I thought Thursday night was Amazon. Or can you watch it? Can you watch it on NBC?
Maybe ESPN or the ESPN app shows NBC as well.
And my quick question for you, real quick, if you know the answer, I talked to the wife about this day. I said, if this is on Amazon Prime, how am I going to be able to record it? You can't record on Amazon Prime. But my wife's like, well, maybe they'll just have it on there after. Maybe it'll just be on there where we can watch it.
I think that's how they'll do it. They'll just have
if
an
not,
archive. They'll have
I'm
an
gonna be
archive,
pissed.
just like you do, like your other shows, your local shows or whatever. You go back and you can archive it.
I'm gonna be pissed if they don't. All right, well, game 2, we got the Saints.
Might just have to come with the big kids and come stay up past your bedtime and watch NFL football. That's what you might have to do.
I only do that.
You might just have to call Jeff and be like, hey, listen, it's NFL time. We might be a few minutes late. It'll be fine.
I do that on when the Packers play, but this game is going to be good. So next game, we got Saints going
weekend.
Huh?
Opening week.
Yeah. We got New Orleans Saints headed into Atlanta. I think this is an easy one. I got the Saints winning this one. Atlanta is going to be one of the low 5 teams in the league, and the Saints defense is just too good. I think
there's just offensively, you just Kamara, Thomas, Jameis. You just have too many names on the other side that if they lose, that would be not a good start to the season out in New Orleans.
All right, we got Cleveland headed into Carolina. We got Baker Mayfield versus his old team in revenge tour. And this one was tough for me because I wanted to come in here and pick Baker and say that he's going to be the revenge and he's going to get his revenge. But I just don't believe it. I believe that the Cleveland Browns defense is going to do enough to cause Baker some problems. And I believe that this rushing attack will eat up a lot of the clock on the road against Carolina and get the victory there. I got Cleveland winning that one.
Give me Baker.
Give you Baker. All right.
Revenge tour starts off with a bang, and we're gonna go with Baker. I can't bet on the Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland Browns. Yeah. We got San Francisco going into Chicago. Easy one. 49ers win this one.
100%. Yeah,
I figured you would be.
Chicago. We just talked about Chicago being an absolute dumpster fire, and I just don't think they have any problem with it.
Mitchell Trubisky heads into Cincinnati. We got Steelers there, so I got the Bengals winning this one. I'm pretty sure you do too.
Sorry, Mitch.
Yep. Sorry, Mitch. You're it's not happening, buddy. We have Eagles going to Detroit, and I've got Philly winning this one.
Give me the Lions.
Give you the
Hard
Lions.
Knocks playing for the coach, home opener. Give me the Lions to upset Philly and Jalen Hurts to pee on his leg in the opener.
All right, Colts going into Houston. Easy one for me. Indy takes that one. Matt Ryan starts off on the good side.
Yeah, 100%. Same thing.
Miami at home against the Patriots. Give me Miami.
Yep, agree.
I got Baltimore tearing apart the Jets. Easy peasy on that one.
Yes, sir.
I got Washington beating the Jaguars.
Oh,
That's tough. I could have gone Jacksonville, but I just thought
yeah. Give me Carson Wentz. I guess that's a battle of. Don't you wish you had a ticket? Wow.
Yeah. You got the New York Giants heading into Tennessee. I got the Tennessee Titans.
Yes, sir, all day long.
You got Kansas City going to Arizona and the Cardinals, and I think Kansas City wins this one, and the Cardinals start early,
Chiefs.
flopping. All right, we got the Raiders versus the Chargers. This one was probably the toughest one to call all week. And, well, I don't know. The Bills one was tough. This is probably second toughest. I got Chargers, though, at home, beating the Raiders.
Wow, you're going to make me pick against my guy. Yeah, I can't take Carr out of the gate. I want to, but I can't.
I wanted to, and with Devontae, and
Yeah, I want to, and I hope it doesn't come back and bite me. But
I think at home, that's why I took the Chargers. They're at home. Green Bay at Minnesota. I got Minnesota winning game one.
Oh, give me Minnesota.
I just think Green Bay is going to come off, start a little sluggish. We did last year. We got blown out by the Saints 31-3. It won't be that bad, but I think we come off. We'll start a little slow. You'll see Aaron Rodgers get mad at the wide receivers for not doing their job. And
don't know if Allen Lazard plays, so that's my catch there.
Tampa Bay headed to Dallas. I got Tampa Bay winning this one.
So do I. Unfortunately, I just don't think Dallas does enough to do it. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. I think it'll be boring football. But I just don't think Dallas – I want them to win, but I think Dallas starts 0-2 against Tampa and the Bengals. I just don't see that they have enough firepower to play with either of those teams, especially with no Tyron.
And the last one, I don't even think I need to ask it. Broncos, Seattle. We both got the Broncos. There's no way you're picking Seattle here. So,
no.
All right. Well, those are your picks for the week. Like I said, we've only picked like 2 or 3 different games differently. So, whoever wins those is really going to get the jump on this thing. But before we let you go, it's been a super long episode. Before we let you go, we are going to give you the NCAA recap that just happened, and a couple bullet points from this weekend. And let me ask you, Craig, did Georgia have to do their former DC Dan Lanning that bad? Did they have to treat him that bad? That was an utter.
Talk about answering the call and whether or not you're going to be back. I think Georgia made a statement. That team's going to be very tough. I didn't like that kid last year, the quarterback, that Stetson Bennett. I didn't like him. I didn't think he was good enough. I was actually excited when they said he was going to be the starter against Michigan. He had a good game against Michigan, and he had an even better game this weekend. And, man, if that kid can play like he's playing now, watch out. That team's going to be tough to beat.
And this defense didn't look like it. It
didn't miss a beat. They graduated a bunch of starters, and they didn't miss a beat.
49-3 over the number 11 Oregon Ducks. What a whooping! You have number 7 Utah falling to Florida. Florida scores 15 points in the fourth quarter to take that game. I thought Utah, going into the season, was a little too highly ranked. I didn't understand why they were that high in the top 10. But they're going to fall off. They're going to fall off pretty good. Florida's actually jumped into the new rankings there, so that's good for them.
I thought them going into the swamp was a problem. I didn't think they had enough to beat Florida. I thought they got a new quarterback. They got a new coach. I thought they were going to be able to get it done, and they did. So,
sorry, I was looking at the rankings real quick here. I thought they came out with new rankings today, but
yeah, Michigan's 4.
Michigan's 4. I don't think they should have moved up. I mean, they beat a nobody. They beat a nobody. Why would they move them up?
Because there are people love them off.
Who lost? Y'all were 8.
I mean, Utah lost. They're 7, so
Yeah, move up by default.
they moved up to 4. I don't know. I mean, I don't think they should have been 8 to begin with. Ohio State looked terrible. They should have lost that football game. They weren't prepared. The kid did this last year. They came out lackadaisical last year. They looked bad, and they look bad again this year. C.J. Stroud looked terrible. Ryan Day wasn't ready, and Notre Dame should have beat them. They blew 17 million opportunities. The first play of the game goes down to the 15, and they don't get nothing but a field goal. Notre Dame blew that game. They blew Marcus, their head coach. They blew his opener, and it was sad because Ohio State did everything they needed to lose that football game, except lose the football game.
Yeah, I was not impressed. We talked about it, and I thought Ohio State was going to come out, and Stroud was looking for that Heisman Trophy, and I was like, man, this is the year. They're going to go out. They're going to dominate, and they crapped on the bed for 3 quarters.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I said they're doing enough where they're going to win this game at the end because Notre Dame just couldn't score any freaking points. So the craziest game I got this last weekend was UNC and Appalachian State. UNC gives up.
State puts up 40 in the 4th and still loses.
40 points in the 4th. These teams scored 62 points in the 4th quarter together, but UNC wins 63-61 as the 2-point conversion for Appalachian State at the end of the game in overtime was no good. So that was an insane game. How do you give up 40 points in the 4th quarter and still win the game?
100%. You should not. If you give up 40, period, you shouldn't. 40 in the game, you shouldn't win, let alone 40 in the 4th quarter alone. And so, yeah.
Yeah, the new standings are out. Alabama's 1. They're going to dominate. Georgia's 2. Ohio State is number 3. Michigan 4. Florida jumped all the way from unranked to number 12. Utah dropped to number 13. BYU put up a 50-burger, and they're up in they're 21. Houston dropped to number 25, barely hanging on there. So we'll see at the end of the year. Oklahoma, number 7, they jumped up a little bit. Notre Dame dropped to number 8, and Baylor's there at number 9.
About to walk into a buzzsaw this weekend.
Texas is about to get ran over this weekend.
Yeah, so.
Woo. But they're is Texas ranked? I closed list. I think they're.
I don't. If they were, they're down in the bottom.
24, 23, I think. Well, guys, it's a long freaking show. We're almost 2 hours in. It's my bedtime. It's our bedtime, really. Well, you stay up however late you want, Craig. You're crazy like that. My dog is dreaming, but he's like over here. I don't know if you can hear him. He's like barking in his sleep. Anyways, all right, guys. Well, that was a super long episode. It won't be that long every week on Tuesdays. We gave you our questions going into the NFL for each team, and we gave you our predictions for the week. And then we are going to predict each game this every week. So look forward to that, and we'll fill you in on how we did the week before. So next time we talk, week 1 will be over. Craig, next time we're on here, it'll be over. I'll jump on with Jeff on Friday and get you set again for some more NFL headed into week 1. So looking forward to the matchups. Hoping my team is on TV, or I'm going to have to go somewhere to watch it. Unfortunately. It should be on TV. It's going to be a good game.
All right, brother. We will see you in the morning, and ready for another day.
All right, guys. Well, God bless. Take care, and remember,
keep it unspoken.
Yes, sir. Thank you.